Hey guys, and welcome back to another the1EyedGamer. Today's video is going to be something a little special. I've never done this type of video before, and it's essentially, I don't want to call it a review, but I guess it could be a review or thoughts and impressions videos. I haven't decided which the title is, but it's obviously going to be about a game I was very interested and hyped for since it was announced last year, and it was one of my most anticipated games of this year of 2018, and it is Dynasty Warriors 9, and as you guys know, there has been a lack of content of that on the channel. I've mostly been doing Fire Emblem Warriors, and the simple fact is, I'm not having that much fun with Dynasty Warriors 9. The reason I've waited so long to do this is because obviously a lot of other reviews were like the first day, maybe the first week, because the first day Dynasty Warriors 9 was pretty bad. I don't have a PlayStation Pro, so I don't know how the Pro version ran, but on my regular PlayStation 4, I was experiencing a lot of frame delay. I think I was running at 30 frames because the Musou dropped the 30 frame model to 15 frames per second. The screen time was pretty bad. Characters, they would pop in and out of nowhere. Sometimes it would have trouble loading the textures, it would have trouble loading some enemies and also some NPCs that would require the missions to go forward. The reason I didn't do this before is because obviously there have been patches since. It's been about, I think, like almost 3 weeks since Dynasty Warriors 9 released, so I thought I wanted to look back, play a little more with the game after the patches, and the most recent patch, I think, is like patch 1.4, which is the most current up-to-date patch, fixed some issues that I was having with the game, and I just wanted to give it a fair look. I wanted to wait for it to literally get more support and more stable is what I'm thinking of, because the game didn't feel like it was that at launch. So the reason why there hasn't been a lot of Dynasty Warriors 9 videos is because I just haven't been having that much fun with it. And I'm gonna state something that I think a lot of people don't have the opinion of on the internet right now for this game, and that is, I don't hate it. Like, I don't unabashedly hate it. Like, I don't have a strong hatred for the game. I just have disappointment. Yeah, I think disappointment's the right word I'm going for. That's all I feel for Dynasty Warriors 9, is just a big amount of disappointment, because this was a game I was really looking forward to, and obviously I was covering it on the channel, and you guys were enjoying it too, and I really wanted to do something with it, but the game just doesn't feel that fun to me to play. But I want to give it a somewhat of a fair look. So first off, let's talk about the open world, which was a huge change from, which was obviously a big departure from our previous Dynasty Warriors entries, which were mostly just map-based battles where you had access to, you had a lot of enemies. Open world, I feel like Koei went a little too ambitious with the open world. I will admit it is very large, and in some cases it can be very beautiful, even running off of my original PlayStation. And from what my friend Dragonman has told me, his Pro version looks pretty good when it's running, and he doesn't experience any issues that I usually run into on my version. But the open world itself, I feel like it could have been implemented better than what it was, and that's the real problem with the open world aspect. Is obviously one of the critiques of any Warriors game, if you've been a Warriors fan as long as I have, is the same notion that other people have, that other reviewers bring up, is the maps, aka the worlds, are literally lifeless and boring, because once you take out all the enemies, it literally is just a background and nothing else. And what I think the open world did, unfortunately, was amplify that to the highest degree it's ever been, whereas now it really does feel kind of lifeless and barren on a much grander scale than would have ever been just on the regular map battles. And the reason for that is, I don't know if it's a combination of Koei not knowing how to make an open world game, or not knowing how to structure an open world game to give you lots to do, because literally all you do in the open world outside of the battle missions and the side missions that don't really actually contribute to the actual story missions, literally all you do in the open world is go collecting. Like, that's all you do, is you go collecting for the materials to make weapons, gems, accessories, all that. Those are literally the other selling points of this. You can also go hunting and fishing, and obviously at this point we all know that you don't need to go hunting to get like all the coins you need to buy legendary weapons and all the other powerful level like gems and accessories. There have been a lot of YouTubers who have been making, you know, videos talking to you about the best spot to get like the golden coins you need to get each specific weapon and all that other stuff. The places to go to like fish with a certain bait that will give you like items that you can sell for like 1,000+ gold each, so you can easily get like over 1 million or more gold in literally like an hour or two of like non-stop fishing. glitching. And that's kind of the drawback of what that is because of that, it lets you abuse the system. Like, you don't have to progress far into the game. All you really need is get to a point where you can get a certain amount of bait, find a specific spot, and literally just fish there until you get what you need. I haven't beaten the game, honestly. I'm sorry, that's not true. I've beaten one story mode, and that was Sunjian, because his was only 2 chapters. But all the others, all I've done is just played the games to get certain characters, and because of the recent update, you can get almost all the characters by playing like a couple missions. I think the furthest I've gotten in the game, just continually play-wise, is a Zhong Fei, and I think I'm on chapter 3, and I'm literally not gone that far. I'm only missing a couple other officers because I don't know how to unlock them, but literally I have the entirety of Wei, Wu, Shu, and Jin already unlocked just for playing a couple maps. I guess that's kind of disheartening because it really doesn't entice you to keep playing after some point because you can already unlock your favorite characters. And then the open world doesn't entice you to stay in it because there's literally not much to do. Yeah, you can find these spots and scenic spots that'll give you experience points and you can buy hideouts, but it really doesn't feel like there's a lot to do outside of battle missions, because when you talk to the NPCs, there's not like, some of them don't give you quests. Like if I run into, let's say if I were playing as Zhao Yun and I run into Zhuge Liang and it's not a story-based mission and I talk to him, I won't have the opportunity to like learn more about Zhuge Liang. He'll just tell me what needs to be done for that mission, and the same will go for all the other officers if they don't have that gold scroll above them. So what I feel like is the open world is the main draw of the game, but unfortunately there's not enough to do, or the world itself doesn't feel like a place you want to continuously visit because it's not populated well enough. And I understand it's based on ancient China, and in those times villages were, you know, like a couple days away from each other, sometimes weeks, but to have such a huge stretch of land, because I think there was a video before where someone actually started from, I think, the northernmost tip of China and ran all the way down to the Namman territory, and that took them 2 hours with speed up, not just regular game runtime. And that's kind of the thing, is you can do that. You can run into animals and maybe some bandits that are tougher than you, but honestly, like I said, with the stuff that other YouTubers have showed you about how to get materials and things, you don't really need to run into them to do all that. And to be fair, running around the world isn't that fun either. The horse mechanic is not that great. The horse can glitch. It can ride up top of buildings. It can also like just randomly at sometimes disappear from you, and it can also glitch. It can literally, like, when you're riding a hill that's not even that deep, it can like suddenly start sliding all the way down, and it's not even like a super hill or mountain that you're climbing. Honestly, most of the game you'll be doing is riding that horse, which is the only way you can level up the horse. With the fast travel system, you can abuse that and go where you want, but at the same time, if you want a better horse, you have to ride out. The fast travel system itself isn't that perfect. It sometimes doesn't take you that close to your objective. Sometimes it literally takes you what would be probably like a minute extra run just to get there. And to me, that's just not that fun. Like, I think the fast travel system should have been implemented better. I feel like the open world aspect should have been better. There should have been more stuff to do. It should have felt livelier outside of the story missions. The horse mechanic, there should have been a lot more debugging and testings on it, so you wouldn't have to run into certain issues, like I've said, where sometimes your horse might not even show up when you're calling it, and you can hear the whistle and it just refuses to show up. I honestly think instead of going straight into an open world, I think what they should have done was do an open battlefield. And by that I mean, like, I'll use Fawn Castle as an example. Let's give us an area from Fawn Castle to Mi Castle, where Guan Yu starts off, and within that span just have it filled with officers, soldiers, but while you're in the open battlefield, let you have the ability to run around the battlefield, so you can do all these other things, like run to the floodgates, do these other things, do all these other stuff that this battlefield can offer you, and then ease us into an open world in the next one. Dynasty Warriors 10, I think, should have been an open world, because then at that point they could have taken what they did with like an open battlefield kind of thing and then expand it, and then they would have more experience with like an open world-esque environment instead of just going into it right now and not really knowing how to properly fill it and keep it interesting. Because like I said, now the complaint of the world being lifeless is turned up even more, because now there's more stretches of like area you can go with where there's no one or nothing to do, and that can become very boring, and I can understand why that's a major turnoff. So that's going to be it for the open world aspect. Like I said, I think they should have done open battlefield first and then gone to open world to like ease us into this transition, or they should have populated the open world itself with more to do outside of the combat missions. Next I want to talk about the combat combat system, and I'm gonna be dead honest, I do not like the state system. I find it very restricting. I find it less free as the charge system, and the charge system wasn't the most complicated thing you had to do. Like, it would just be square, triangle, square, square, triangle, triangle, square, square, like pretty much that. It wasn't something that was super difficult, but it did give you some freedom. The state combo system, I can understand what they're trying to do, but by oversimplifying the combat system, you take away certain freedoms that veteran players like us have done, and it actually becomes more repetitious for new players, because in all honesty, all you really need to do to win most fights is just spam the square button. And yes, like I said, longtime fans like me and us, you know, we get that complaint too, like, you just click square to win, and it's like, yeah, you can, but with the charge system, you could do a little more. With this, it is true. Like, I can't tell you how many times where I just ran into a battle, not caring at all, and just clicking the square button because I wanted to get it done. That's really a shame, because the combat is supposed to be the forefront of the game, or it's supposed to be engaging enough, because if you're taking on hordes of enemy and you feel bored out of your mind playing only an hour or two into the game, the combat system then has failed you. You know what, I could honestly say I think I'd rather take Renbu over this, and only because at least Renbu still had a remnant of the charge system in it, so there were still levels of freedom you could have. I understand what they're saying where, like, you know, depending on the state of the character, you know, you can automatically do an aerial attack, you can do a wide angle attack, you can do a down attack, you can do your special, but the problem with the combat system is it's not responsive, and it's not intuitive, and it's just not fun, in my opinion, because when you have that triangle kill move that you got from, you know, the Samurai Warrior games, those were easy, because when you click that button, it usually automatically did the attack for you. You knew who it was. In this, I can't even begin to tell you how many times I've had the triangle above them to do the finisher move, and just because I'm not looking at them, or the camera's just slightly off them for like an angle, not even like I'm looking the other way, just like a slight angle, and I will not do the attack. Or if I'm trying to hit a guy and I'm standing right in front of him, like I can see him, and I click the square button and I charge, I'll go past him and I'll hit a peon or a foot soldier behind him that I wasn't aiming for because I was trying to get him. And that's the problem, is because it's so oversimplified, the combat becomes less fun, because you literally can just find one combo and just abuse the hell out of it. Or you can literally spend like an extra minute or two in combat trying to hit your opponent, but missing, because even with the lock on, you can still fly past them and hit someone else behind them instead of being able to like stay on the target. And for me, that's a problem, because I like having a certain level of freedom. I also like the fact that when you're knocked in the air, you only have two options of retaliation, and literally it's only one, and the one option is to use your aerial moveset, which I don't feel like doing if I'm getting juggled. The other option is to obviously click the square button and like dive to the ground. And what I think the problem is, I would have liked some kind of aerial attack. Like in the old game, you could have given me a strong where it just like forces me to the ground in a more advantageous way, or you could have given me like half of the aerial combo before I hit the ground. Something that gives me an option to retaliate while I'm in the air and hitting someone, instead of just literally forcing myself to like get grounded and then charge at the enemy. That's why I think I can understand what they wanted to do with the state combo system, but at the same time, I think for me, it fell really flat, and that is the main reason why I don't like playing Dynasty Warriors 9 at this point, is I don't like the combat. I find it boring. I find it super repetitive. And this is coming from someone who loves the old Dynasty Warrior games with the charge system, where I can literally drop like hours of just going on maps and running around and destroying them because I enjoyed the combat. This, it's more like, I don't want to play this. I don't want to do this anymore because I'm literally forced into the same kind of sets of combos. It's very rare to have a deviation, but it's like you took away certain freedoms of me by streamlining a system that really didn't need to be streamlined, because honestly, in the old games, my friends who never played Dynasty Warriors, and I played with them on like Fire Emblem or like Dynasty Warriors 8 back in the day, they understood how to use the charge system after I let them like play around with it for a little bit. Like I would just chime in and say like, hey, maybe if you do, you know, 3 squares and then a triangle, you'll get this move. Let them experiment, and then it just became easier because it was just an easy, free system where if you wanted to dive deeper into the combat, you could, and you could think of like some crazy combos. You could get some really good combos, but in this, it's like the combat system sometimes is actively against you, and it doesn't help, and that's a real problem considering your game is an action game and the fight has to be the forefront. That is what the game is. Your game is 100% a 1 versus 1,000 simulator, and if it doesn't feel good to attack the enemy, or it doesn't feel fun to do all this, then what's the point of being in this world and being these characters if you can't feel like a badass? And that's the real problem with the combat system. You just don't feel like it. Like, you don't, it's so easy to get kills too. It's kind of crazy. Like, I had a count where I was playing as Dong Zhuo, and I had a 3,000 3,200 kill streak, and I'll be dead honest with you, I didn't even know I had that kill. I ignored the kill count, I ignored the combo counter, I ignored everything except like wanting to beat this mission to hopefully unlock more characters. And that's really upsetting that I just turned my brain off and I just ignored everything. Like I skipped through the story because the story is, I'll save that actually for after this, but I want to stick to combat. But for the combat aspect, it's like that's the one thing I want to look forward to in the game. And the problem is when I do play, some of the weapons do feel nice and their combos are good, but other ones feel really lacking and not beneficial to have. I mean, I do like what they did with Wan Ping and Jahaba's greatsword. They actually made the swords fast, which I give Koei, credit for. I'm glad that they made the swords a little faster. Some of the weapons, like I said, are good, like Xu Shang's flails. Those are really good. I enjoy them. They do a lot of effect, but you can clearly see what weapons are better for the system than others. Like most weapons that have some kind of reach are going to be a lot better than the other weapons that other characters have. Like I said, there are drawbacks to certain styles in the system. Like most sword wielders aren't going to be as great as most of obviously the pull-on wielders, because at least some of them have an arc attack, or their combos might be a little easier to get into than some sword fighters.
But the combat system is what it is. I mean, you can't change it, and I think I'm just, like I said, I'm not happy with the state combat system. I thought it could have been a lot better. I thought the combat should have been more enjoyable because, like I said previously, this is an action game, and your main selling point is obviously the combat besides the open world. And the state combat system just doesn't feel fun to play, which is a real disappointment because I don't think this was the natural progression for the charge system. I don't know what a natural progression for it should be, but I feel like when you simplify something too much, it loses its appeal, when you make it too streamlined, you lose some complexity that other people like and the freedom they enjoy having with it. But that's going to do it for the combat system. And finally, we're going to talk about the story, and obviously the story isn't going to take that long. If you played any Dynasty Warriors game, you know how the story goes, but for new guys, essentially it's just the retelling of the Romance of the Three Kingdoms novels, and it literally just follows very strictly to the novel, as in it starts with like the Yellowstone Rebellion. That's always the start of it because that's the start of the story in the books, and then it usually goes to about the fall of Wu, which is the official end of the Three Kingdoms era with Jin winning. That's essentially it. It doesn't change. It shouldn't have to change, obviously, because it's just telling the same story. But I feel like with the storytelling this time, it took a big backseat to the open world aspect of the game, which is fine. But at the same time, the characters felt the same as usual, like one-dimensional, and the story itself didn't feel like it was gripping because maybe since it was told by several different characters, it just felt weird to keep watching the same cutscene over and over again, just with different characters. And after a while, that got boring and it lost interest to me very quick. So story-wise, I think it's even below average for a Dynasty Warriors game. That's my opinion on how the story feels. And I guess to wrap this up, if I had to rate this game on a scale, I would probably use a out of 5 scale because I don't really want to use an out of 10 scale. I think that's too large. But if I had to give this game a rating right now, I would give it a 3 out of 5. It's mediocre. Like for a Warriors game, I feel like this is a very mediocre try for something that should have celebrated their, I think this is their 20th or their 25th anniversary. But like I said, I can respect them trying to do something new, that's fine, but I feel like they went a little too ambitious this time around. And if you want my recommendation for this game, I would honestly say if you're an old-time fan like me, I would say either pass it or rent it. And if you're new to the series and this is one you want to think about getting into, I would say rent it. Like go to GameFly or go to some other retailer that will let you rent games and then try it out to see if this is something you would like. But if you want to get into Dynasty Warriors 9 before this, with earlier entries, I would suggest Dynasty Warriors 7, because in my opinion, Dynasty Warriors 7 is the best iteration of the story. It makes the characters feel like they're less one-dimensional. I mean, they're not full 3D characters, obviously, but at least it gives them a little more depth. Like, Southside actually feels remorseful about the decisions he's made, the people that, he had to sacrifice in order to keep going, and I thought that was very interesting. And if you don't want the story, then go to Dynasty Warriors 8, because Dynasty Warriors 8 I think had the best combat up till now, and it's the pinnacle of what 7's combat should have been, and I think that's what most people enjoy, myself included. Definitely I like Dynasty Warriors 8's combat. And at this point you can get Dynasty Warriors 8 Extreme Legends for the PlayStation 4, and that includes both the base game and the Extreme Legends expansion, so it's a win-win, and I think it's pretty cheap now. I think most places sell $30, but I think you might be able to find it for cheaper. But if you wanted to get into Dynasty Warriors and you didn't want to go through Dynasty Warriors 9, those two are my strong recommendation for you guys if you're brand new to the series. So yeah guys, that's going to do it for this video. Again, I gave Dynasty Warriors 9 a 3 out of 5, very mediocre, and like I said at the beginning of the video, I don't have a hatred for it because that would imply I have strong strong negative feelings for it. What I really just have is just disappointment, because I wanted this game to be good. I wanted this game to be better than what it was. I think I let the hype get a little too much of me. It's not a bad game. It's not as bad as everyone I think says it is. It's just mediocre to me, and that's the real shame, because like I said, this was like one of my top 3 most anticipated games of this year, next to Kingdom Hearts 3 and Soul Calibur 6. Other than that, what did you guys think of this video? It was the first time I ever did something like this. I'd love to hear your feedbacks in the comments section. If you don't want to hit me up in the comments section, please feel free to hit me up. I'm always on Twitter, and I'll try to get back to you guys as fast as I can, either through the comments or Twitter. If you like the video, please give a thumbs up. It helps out the channel. Share the video around. It also helps out the channel that way. And if you're new and you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing. It really helps me out. Yeah, that's going to be it for Dynasty Warriors 9. I might do more videos like this in the future if you guys want it, with my thoughts and opinions on certain games, but that probably won't be for a while now. But it was fun making this video, and I might put some Dynasty Warriors 9 videos up on the channel. I just haven't figured out how I'm going to work that yet, because it would probably require a lot of editing. I don't think you guys want to watch like 5+ minutes of me riding on a horse to get to the battlefield, even with the fast travel system. I'll think of something if I want to put Dynasty Warriors 9 content on the channel, which I think you guys would like, but I want it to be enjoyable for you guys, and I don't want you to have to watch like a 20+ minute video just to watch some like quick gameplay. I'm rambling. I apologize for that. I'm going to try and get better at that, as like I said. But as always, guys, I want to thank you very much for watching. Thank you so much for all the support you've given me, and you know, you guys are great. With that being said, I want you guys to have a great day, and as always, let's rock.